Talk, Jeff.
Hey,
Talk to me.
sports fans.
Hey, I should talk. Hey. All right, guys.
Need reaction.
Welcome to the show tonight. We're going to start off. We're just going to get a little business out the way. You'll notice we are missing our normal point guard, our steady point guard, Mr. Clint. Clint had a death in his family. His wife's grandmother passed. They're a really close knit family. So we're just going to send our prayers out to him as we just handle the show tonight for him. So all drinks, disparaging talk about certain quarterbacks is all dedicated to Mima.
Yes.
Mima.
All right. With that said, these guys were hot and heavy already, like 30 seconds ago behind the scenes. So we're not even gonna give that wasted monologue. We're just gonna jump right back into what we were just talking about. We were reviewing the playoffs. I believe we were talking Cincinnati, Kansas City. Lauren has some opinions about the refereeing or officiating of that game. Lauren, you got it.
Y'all.
You got it. I'm gonna let you take it.
I was saying, can I actually post it? Maybe I can't post it in the comments. I was going to post the YouTube link, but I can't post it in the comments. We were talking about officiating and when the call decides the outcome of the game. I have a very sore spot for that because, and I was going to post the link in the comments because I'm curious if anybody else thinks that this is the dirtiest hit ever. The Saints NFC playoff game. What was it? 2019?
2018 season.
18, I believe.
2018.
January of 19, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. So Roby Coleman, it wasn't Traquan Smith. It was Lewis. What is his? I can't think of his first name though right now. It was a no call and it was a dirty hit. It would have decided the game. I don't think was it Tommy Lewis? Maybe. It was the Saints would have had it was a touchdown and Roby Coleman knew that it was going to be a touchdown. So he said this in a post-game interview that he went ahead and took the dirty hit so that he could get the flag and stop the touchdown. And why this is important is because I think that the Cincinnati, I'm not saying it was rigged. I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists, but there were some really shitty calls or no calls in the Bengals Kansas City game. So it upsets me when things like that happen and the games. I mean, actually, both playoff games upset me this weekend for different reasons. I thought both of them were bullshit, but they are what they are. We have our Super Bowl guys, the refs. I don't think it was a conspiracy. I don't think the NFL is rigged. I think it was really shitty officiating, and it sucks when that happens, and it sucks when it happens to your team. So, Bengals fans, I understand what that feels like, and it is. Look, here it's 2023. I'm still pissed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
man,
Lauren
fuck them Bengals.
Yeah,
fuck them Bengals fans.
It sucks.
Lauren and I mean, Lauren's a little bit happy that the Bengals lost, so that she doesn't have to hear Houday anymore.
But I picked the Bengals.
But you picked the Bengals.
And Joe Burrow is LSU.
Lauren and I had a decent conversation this afternoon about the whole rig thing and the whole conspiracy thing. And I'll be honest, I probably spend too much time on social media when I should be working. I troll Facebook and troll Twitter, and I look around on different sites, and I was really seeing a lot of people. Listen, I thought every football fan in the world this week who was a Bengals fan, I thought they were a Cowboys fan because they were really crying like Cowboys. There was a lot of whining going on about the NFL is rigged, everything is fixed. If you didn't see, Arian Foster came out today and made a statement on Twitter that, the NFL is scripted. And other players have been posting things just kind of trolling him. I mean, clearly the NFL is not scripted, and any logical person can see that. But the people who were saying this week on social media that the game was rigged, that the game was fixed, that the referees wanted, the NFL wanted Kansas City in the Super Bowl more than the Bengals. Listen, from a marketing standpoint, maybe Patrick Mahomes is still, Burrow is good. Burrow is great. For marketing purposes, Mahomes is higher. Let's just be real about it.
Yeah, I think they would have had more if they got the Bengals. Like that's a bigger.
Well, but if it's the Eagles and the Chiefs, you got the Kelsey Bowl, you got the Andy Reid thing.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni coached for the Chiefs at one point in time. You have AJ Brown and Willie Gay went to the same high school. Bowl, like 10
I
minutes
think Burrow and Mahomes like the same thing at McDonald's.
Yeah, so there's
silliness.
things. The game isn't rigged. People were upset about the third down that was canceled. Well, the referee, the back judge was waving his arms. You look at it on the video before
That's
the
not
play
even the bad
snapped.
call, though.
There's the intentional grounding call. There's
Yeah.
penalty calls. There's missed calls. There's calls that were made. The game wasn't fixed. We all understand and we all agree. And Jeff, I'll let you jump in after this last statement, that referees are part of the game, always have been, and the referees are imperfect. It's an imperfect system, but there's no fixing. It's just, it didn't go your way if you're a Bengals fan, and you gotta let it go. Jeff?
Man, fuck them whining Bengal fans. Fuck them whining fans. And it's no fix. You're definitely right. There's no conspiracy, but I mean, we live. I equate when I see that NFL referees are planting games or NFL games are fixed. It's easy to get those kind of rumors started because you can see what happened when people started saying Dominion voting machines were fixed. Yeah. See how that just burnt, like they're basically the same thing. Like you can easily convince
and referees that you can see,
but you can easily convince a fan base just like you can 30 to 40 million Americans that something is rigged with no proof, just because it didn't turn out the way
your way
we wanted it to turn out.
Yeah,
that's all it was. I mean,
great analogy.
Every game is like that. There is a call or two in every game where you be like, God, that was terrible, or they missed that. But it's only the ones that happen, like the LeBron on Saturday night.
Yeah,
the perceived what happened with the Chiefs on Sunday. Those are the only things that we remember. Like, so we'll get to that penalty, because I always like to look at the game and I say, well, what led right up to that penalty? What happened the plays before that? And it's so funny, we're talking about this Jermaine Pratt cursing at his teammate about the late hit penalty.
Don't touch the fucking quarterback.
Don't touch the fucking quarterback. Well, if you didn't get trucked by Pacheco the previous play for 40 yards, that penalty never comes up.
Never happens.
It never happens. It's just the flow of the game. Things happen, and when it's that play's turn to happen, if it just happens to happen with 5 seconds on the clock or 55 minutes on the clock, it was still going to happen.
You see, Jeff,
I agree with you, but I think there's a difference between like the rigged thing. I'll give you, and a lot of times it's like we were joking about, like all that, like, you know, the Patriots won after 9/11, the Saints won after Katrina, whatever. But it's not the word that's not rigged. It's the bad. I will say, like, straight up, like, that was a shit call, and that Roby Coleman call was a shit call.
Agreed. So
it decided the game.
So it's
not rigged. Nobody meant the Saints to lose. It just happened, but it sucked.
So here's the other side. If we can just change channels just for a second to the Philadelphia-San Francisco game.
Okay. You know,
Jeff just made the point correctly, in my opinion, of whether it happens in the first 5 minutes of the game or the last 5 minutes of the game. You still have the whole rest of the game. In the Philadelphia game, now, granted, I'm living in Philly. I'm a by proxy Philadelphia fan. I've been here for close to a decade, so I'm fly Eagles fly. Very excited. We saw the catch by Devonta Smith in the first quarter. So every angle that we saw was a catch until after the extra point happened. They got the touchdown 2 plays later, came back from break. Then we have
that doesn't bother me. That's not even a
well. Here's why.
Call.
Well,
but that was the swing of that game.
So here's why this matters. If that call would have been overturned, it was a 4th down. The Eagles would have punted. You have to remember, it was 6 plays later that Brock Purdy ripped his UCL. So if that play doesn't happen, the 49ers are getting the ball at a different yard marker. Maybe they have different plays called.
Yeah, but that's like call Theo type shit. No,
yes, and that's my point. And that's my point.
What sucks about that game is they need to. I mean, all right, I have probably torn or broken most things from being a jackass playing rugby and just being like literally watching the movies Jackasses. So I've had elbow surgery before, and I'm like, I don't know that they did a good justice explaining that injury, there is few things as pain. Like, think about how bad it hurts when you hit your funny bone. So that man is trying to throw, like, I didn't see anything, but I was really hoping to not find anything where people are like, why couldn't you just play? Like, he couldn't throw. I was reading he couldn't throw 5 yards. Like, it is excruciating. Like, there's nothing he can't. So what I don't understand, what pisses me off about that game is you saw Christian McCaffrey. They were trying to get him a helmet so he could ground. Why didn't they move on that? Why do you have him out there just handing the, like, you know, the game's over, you asshole.
Because if you have Purdy in the game, we know that he can't throw the ball. Correct. Christian McCaffrey is not a quarterback. Can he throw the ball 40 yards? Yes. Did he throw it once for a touchdown versus, who was it, the Rams in his first game?
Somebody.
Yes, that can happen. The point is that if you have a legitimate quarterback in the game, then at least you're not disrupting your running game, which is all that you really have left.
He couldn't throw the ball. Like, his arm was shot.
Everybody knew the path. Listen, when he got hurt, everybody knew the game. When Josh Johnson took that field,
it was over.
It was over. It was done. There was nothing the 49ers could do. They were only down, 14 or 7-0 at that point. By halftime, it was 14 and then 21.
But what does the NFL do so that the next time this happens, there's a quarterback?
So what the NFL can do is every team has 3 quarterbacks on their active roster. Most teams have an active scratch for their third string quarterback. Most teams don't carry 3 active quarterbacks on their squad. That's why they have an emergency quarterback. For the 49ers, it was McCaffrey, and then after that, it was Kyle Juszczyk, I think. Mm-hmm. But most teams don't carry 3. There's 2 things that have to happen here. One, the NFL teams need to take backup quarterbacks more seriously. If you are a team that does not have if you have Josh Johnson as your backup quarterback, then you are asking to lose. The 49ers got to their third with Brock Purdy. And in all reality,
technically,
Josh Johnson was their 4th, but he was their backup. But he was their backup
for that game.
49ers got lucky that their third stringer was that good. Most teams, their backup is garbage. So that's one thing that needs to happen, is that NFL teams need to take their backup quarterback position more seriously. The second thing is maybe the NFL can look at, because we're always trying to protect the quarterback position more than anything else, maybe there's an exemption for a third quarterback that can be on your active roster, but if he goes into the game, nobody else can go back, something like that. There may be something like that now.
You're going to call, and rightfully so, they should call concussions the way they're calling them. But like a couple, like that happened in Miami too. It was like, didn't Teddy both had concussions?
Well, I mean, we went to the third string, but our third string.
And that was Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson was trash.
And Skylar Thompson was trash, and he went one spot before
If you're going to call those concussions as quickly as you are, especially now after the Tua, I think it's going to be even more prominent after Tua. You're going to have to give teams another. Like, I agree with you. They need to take more, and they need to have some, because that's what that call is not what ended that game.
They're not going to. Just to go back to the quarterback thing, they're not going to do anything smart like that, because to have a decent enough quarterback, or a second or third, would require that you have somebody that's not making $500,000 a year playing quarterback. And unless you're going to have a much larger salary cap, so you got a $50 million average a year quarterback and then a $15 million backup, unless you're going to do that, it's not going to work.
Some teams have gotten lucky, like the Jets have gotten lucky. Their backup is actually better than their starter. Mike White turned out to be better than Zach Wilson. In Philadelphia, Gardner Minshew filled in last year and went 2-1. This year, he wasn't that good when he had to fill in, but that's a serviceable backup quarterback. If you're starting with
quarterback of all time,
what's that?
Who's the best backup quarterback of all time?
Somebody who played for the Saints.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Yeah, okay.
Is he the best backup?
Best back. Oh, is that our transition?
That sounds like a transition.
It was like a present for you.
Some Brady love for you.
I have.
He did come in as Drew Bledsoe's backup, and
and we'll introduce it just like that. Drew Bledsoe's backup turned it from backup to GOAT.
Tom Brady is the greatest backup in NFL history. I would absolutely give you that. So we know Tom Brady retired last year, and this year on the same day, February 1st, both times. He retired the same day, both times. I looked up and I found a little bit of Tom Brady trivia that I want to get that I want to give out here before we get into our Tom Brady accolades. There are 3 teams that Tom Brady is undefeated against. Sorry, 4 teams and I just lost my picture. Shit. That he is undefeated against. Here it is. 4 teams that Tom Brady is undefeated against.
New England.
New England is one of them. I thought you were going to miss that one.
No,
I will never forget that.
The other 3 are NFC teams. 1 South, 1 North, 1 East.
Did he lose to the Panthers?
Atlanta?
Nope. Jeff, you and I hate the first one vehemently.
Oh God.
Dallas.
Well, yeah, we should know. He is the Cowboy killer.
7-0 versus Dallas. I'll give you the other 2. He has never lost to Minnesota, 6-0.
I was gonna say the Vikings.
And he has never lost to, get this,
the
Tampa
Lions?
Bay. Tampa Bay is 4-0.
Oh.
Second part of this, Tom Brady has a losing overall record, playoffs and regular season, not preseason, playoffs and regular season, a losing record to only 1 team.
Denver.
That would have been my guess too, but that's incorrect. But you're very close. So he is 8-6 versus Denver, and he's actually 12-3 versus the Colts. He owned Peyton.
All right. The Ravens.
It is not the Ravens.
Wow.
Actually, a good guess. He's 6-3 versus the Ravens. I'll tell you, the team that he has a losing record against is actually the Kansas City Chiefs. It's 5-6 lifetime against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have thought
Lauren,
the Ravens.
you have the stage to start our ball fest for your boyfriend, Thomas Edward.
I have so many. My first emotion today, like my first thing, I was like, this is bullshit. Like he's gonna do that thing that Brett Favre did, except not steal millions of dollars from welfare.
How do you really feel?
He still got time.
I don't think he's got it in him. I just don't. I've said this before, but I've been a Tom Brady and a Patriots fan since the late 90s. Saints were from birth, but I've loved every second. I mean, I would have cry and you couldn't. I was unconsolable on the 18-1 season and every other time he lost. So I love the man. I have so much respect for him. However, I just question. I'm like, you're married to possibly the most beautiful woman
divorced
in the world, and she wants you to retire, and you say no.
And
you did. Then you bring it back
40 days.
Yeah.
And then
you say how long?
One more season. I just kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's their thing. I just question, like, you blew your marriage for this one season, and then during this last season, this is why I don't think he's going to retire. You come out with a losing record. You break records in the wrong way. You lost your marriage. Like, I don't understand why he did. Why come back and why retire now? I mean, I think he's a genuine dude. I think he's a good dude. I just don't understand. I feel like this was a wasted year for him, and it just ended up uprooting his life. Well, and I think it's sad that that's what he's going to go out on.
I mean, I don't know I'm sure that's not what he intended. But I fully believe in my heart that once the Stephen Ross thing fell apart last year with the Dolphins, that he intended on retiring. The February 1st dates are coincidental. It's because February 1st is the date it got released. He had no intention last February 1st of telling us he was going to retire. He wanted to do what he did, a Twitter video.
But this year's was not unintentional.
Retirement. So this year,
Tom Brady does nothing unintentionally.
He meant that this year. He came back last year because he had to, because he didn't want us to retire him because it didn't go out the way he wanted it to go out. So he just came back and wasted a year. You're right. I think he did waste a year, but he's the GOAT. I mean, he's the quadruple GOAT. He can one more ring, or if they could have gone 0-16, it still wouldn't matter. He's still the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. I think, Jeff, I agree with you. I do think he's done this time. I do want to retread something that I said. I gave you some stats earlier. That's actually only regular season. It's not playoffs, because Tom Brady's last loss will always now be to the Dallas Cowboys.
Ugh.
So he's undefeated to Dallas in the regular season only. So let me
Eric's
correct
comment.
that.
Which coach did he get fired? I know
Bruce Arians.
He got Arians fired.
He got Arians fired. Yeah,
fired.
Yeah,
I thought Arians was fired.
Corporate code for fired is booted upstairs to be a special
he
advisor.
And Tom Brady bumped heads. Like,
see, I thought
Arians wouldn't kiss Brady's ass. I mean, that's basically what it was. So
the Glazers retired him. Yeah, they retired him.
My money
and made him an advisor, so he can still get a check.
Listen, I think Tom Brady holds every passing record conceivable to man.
But
most
of
them
fair,
will never.
It's also because he's played longer than anyone. No one's going to play that long. That's what frustrates me. Like, he broke all Drew Brees' records, but that's because Drew retired. He broke all Peyton's records because
I don't like to play this game, but I will in this moment right here because I can't imagine. And I'm just thinking, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking Drew, and I'm thinking, and I'm probably jumping too far, but I'm thinking Drew. I'm thinking Warren Moon. I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers. I'm thinking of Peyton Manning. I'm thinking of the receivers that these guys played with that all held the record or are right there in that neighborhood. And then I'm thinking of some of the dudes that Brady played with.
Well, he had Gronk.
Wes Welker.
Other than Gronk?
Wes Welker, Julian Edelman.
Other than Gronk in our awesome Randy Moss year.
Chris, the guy on the Bills. He was like the skinny little white dude.
He played with Amendola. He's played with every white slot receiver that ever lived has played.
Random side note, Danny Amendola is on a reality TV show I started about special forces, and he's like in SEAL training for this reality TV show, and it's kind of amazing. It's Danny, and I don't know if he got kicked off or not yet, but anyway.
Listen, I mean,
Chris Hogan, that's what I was trying to think of.
With all Chris Hogan, who killed the Eagles in Super Bowl 52,
was killing it Miami, and we let him go.
They are. I am not a Tom Brady fan. As a person, I've never really appreciated him as a person. I think he comes off as an asshole. I think he comes off smug. I mean, whatever. That's personal. That doesn't really matter. But when you look at him as a football player, there is no question that he is the GOAT. He is, whether it's for longevity, whether it's for statistics, whether it's for how he was a leader and just led those teams and garnered the troops. He is the GOAT. He is the greatest quarterback that we have ever seen.
Well, let me ask you, because my answer is going to surprise you. Who is your GOAT? Like, who's your favorite quarterback of all time?
My favorite quarterback of all time? Well, I mean, Brian Sipe. I still think the Browns got robbed in the '80 championship game versus the Oakland Raiders, but I'm a Clevelander, so I'm always who do I think is the greatest quarterback of all time? Well, I think Brady is.
Well, it doesn't have to be necessarily numbers and stuff. Just who's your guy?
Who's my guy? I would put Johnny Unitas up there. I think Johnny Unitas was just an amazing quarterback. I'm aging myself here. This wasn't my era, but Norman Brocklin was ahead of his time. But I liked a lot of the unknowns, the Dave Craigs, with Steve Largent and all that.
Seattle Seahawks.
Jim Zorn. Who's the greatest quarterback?
Who's your guy?
I don't know that I can just pick, because I think Tom just encompasses everything. The brains, the ability, the longevity. If I had to pick somebody that I want to put the ball in his hands in his prime at the end of the game to go down and score a touchdown to win me the game.
Oh yeah.
I'm going either in their prime. I'm going either Brett Favre or Dan Marino. I'm going with one of those two
guys.
Those are
are
the ones that
Eric is in the comments screaming Montana for the last 3 to 4 comments. Nobody has given.
Is that your guy, Joe?
That's not. I mean, Montana is prior to Brady. I probably would have said that, but I mean, my favorite guy. Golly, I wouldn't say my.
Well, are we saying?
I mean, my heart says.
Yeah, because my answer is going to be.
My heart says Marino, but my eye test. I'm just saying eye test that I've watched play. My eye test says maybe 6th to 7th year Warren Moon.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but 2015 prime uninjured Cam Newton was a fucking unstoppable machine. It was
Right
no
there,
way he was
Jeff.
going to be able to keep that up. But that 1 year,
I'll tell you.
oh my God.
I will tell you, if
All
we're
right.
going for our favorite quarterback who we liked to watch the most, Randall Cunningham. Randall Cunningham in 1989 took the league by storm. He was the ultimate weapon per Sports Illustrated, and then he faded away and he vanished. And then he resurrected in 98 to lead those Vikings to that 15-1 season where they got hosed by who was it?
The
Falcons?
the Dirty Birds.
Yeah, the Dirty
Dirty Birds.
If we're going just passing the eye test, who will I pay money to watch in their prime? Randall. Michael Vick.
Randall.
But Randall before Vick.
You want to take a guess who I'm going to say?
You're going to say
Drew
Brees.
Drew Brees.
No, you're going to go Archie Manning. No, you're going to go Drew.
Manning, close. It's the same family, but I love Peyton and Eli.
Oh,
I love everything about Peyton. That man, I want to have beer with him and just like laugh at that man. Like I think he's a hell of a dude. I think he's a hell of a teammate. Like he's a good quarterback. He went out the way Tom Brady wants to go out, but didn't happen. But I absolutely have so much love for the Manning and Eli. I have so much respect for Eli. He got done dirty. So much respect. Like those are my guys. I love Peyton. I love Eli. I'm super excited to watch them in the Pro Bowl for some reason, even though the Pro Bowl's stupid.
We'll have to put that in.
We got Huntley, and how awkward is the Pro Bowl going to be with David Carr there in Vegas, having left Vegas, putting on a Vegas uniform? Derek Carr.
Derek.
Putting on a Vegas uniform. Yeah, he's the 9th replacement, right before
9th replacement.
There's only
I don't know why they do the Pro Bowl, and like nobody wants to play. No one wants to get hurt.
Well, that's why they stopped playing the game. Now
they're playing flag football.
Well, then they should just stick to skills and shit. Like
they should do skills.
They do,
and just bet crazy amounts of money on it.
They play dodgeball, and that was it. And the
I'm not doing nothing to get hurt.
Catch.
If I make $50 million, I'm not doing anything to get hurt.
Exactly. That's why I think it's kind of like, all right.
I'm not coming ever. I would never come.
Like remember the ice bucket challenge that we all did for ALS? Yeah, the Saints did a really funny one. It was like a quarterback challenge with the ice bucket challenge. I'm like, do something like that. People think that shit's funny.
Anything.
But it's just I
eliminate that Pro Bowl as we know it, though. Just eliminate.
They really should. They really should.
They eliminated the game because the players didn't want to play in it because
but nobody wants to see that shit.
And I get.
Well, if they're gonna do the skills and stuff, then let's may as well just go back to Hawaii and do those. At least you got a free trip out of it.
Please don't take Alvin Kamara back to Hawaii. Please.
It's not Hawaii. It's in Vegas.
I'm saying it's Vegas, but they should go back.
Sorry.
They need to go back to Hawaii.
In a bar. I don't know if he's going or not, but
they need to go back to Hawaii to start.
Aloha Stadium, Rainbow Warriors.
That's what
again. No more Kamara.
All right, let's get off of that for a second. Let's get into these coaches. Let's get into these coaches.
Oh, the coaches.
The coaching carousel this up.
Where do you want to start?
All right, so let's see who did we left off. So who got a job this week? Who no longer needs a coach?
So
Sean
Ian
successfully
called D'Amico Ryans going to Houston. And I think Lauren successfully called Sean Payton going to Denver. I think you called that, Lauren, right?
I don't know if I did or not, but that was painful. The only thing I'm excited about is their draft picks. And I don't even know if I'm excited about that, but I don't understand Denver trading for a coach.
I do.
I do. Like what? But they get rid of. Like, how does that help them as a team?
But because you're locked into Russell for so much money, you can't take the next Nathaniel Hackett or some other retread. But you got to get the best offensive mind that there exists that's out there available. You got to pair them with Russell because you're on the hook for Russell for $230 million. So these guys have more money than God, but it doesn't matter. They don't want to lose. They want to win.
People think that Russell is going to have this renaissance next year because he's being paired up with Sean Payton. Now, Sean Payton is a brilliant offensive mind. Don't get me wrong. Russell Wilson is not Drew Brees. They're both 6 feet tall. They're not tall. They're short for quarterbacks.
Yeah, they
but
don't
that's
play anything
really
big.
where the similarities end.
Yeah.
So the problem with Denver is that since Peyton Manning left in 2015, he retired after Super Bowl 50. They have been just a revolving door. They have had no quarterback stability anywhere.
Right.
Hiring Nathaniel Hackett was a mistake, and we found that out very quickly, that Nathaniel Hackett also is a brilliant offensive mind. You cannot deny what he's done when he was with New York the first time, when he was in Green Bay. He is not a head coach. There is more to being a head coach. You have to run the defense, run the logistics, run the staff, run the training. You're in charge of everything. And he was in over his head. That's why he got fired less than a season in. Has nothing to do with his offensive calling abilities. He's just not a head coach. He's just not capable of doing that. Sean Payton is. Sean Payton will come in. He knows how to run it. He'll delegate what needs to be delegated, and he'll spend his time doing what he needs to make this team great. Russell Wilson is not a 5-11 quarterback. Russell Wilson is not what we saw last year. He is better than that. He was pigeonholed into a terrible system with a terrible coach. But Russell Wilson is also not the 13-3 quarterback, who went to 2 straight championship games, 2 straight Super Bowls, won one, lost one. He's not going to carry a team
now because they gave up draft picks. Like now you've got Sean Payton on your side. The coaches are in salaries too, or salary cap too, right?
So but they had
they're not part of the salary cap.
No, they're not.
Not part of the cap. No.
So now you're stuck with your running. Like I feel like they can't make any moves now because they're losing.
They got room. Don't think about the draft picks. The only way to think about this is effectively they traded Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton. That's all Denver did. They moved off this money, allocated to somewhere else, and this is the resource. This is the route we're going. The Denver defense is stunning.
Denver's defense is great. I think the way Denver might be looking at it is they're looking at Javonte Williams as their first-round draft pick this year. They didn't have him last year. He went out very early.
That's
and
true.
when you come back from an ACL, you're never the same the first season. It takes 2 years until you're back.
Saquon Barkley is case in point.
Exactly. Perfect comparison. Saquon is back now. It's taken him 3 years. Javonte will come back. Denver has wide receivers. Denver has for days. Remember, Tim Patrick was hurt.
They're getting
all
Patrick
season.
back. Our boy Tim Patrick.
Boy, I forgot he got hurt early.
You got Judy, you got Cortland, you got Tim Patrick coming back. Albert
Dortch.
Dortch is on the Cardinals, I thought.
No, Dortch is on the Cardinals.
He's on the Cardinals.
So what's the tight end?
They got a rookie. They got a rookie tight end.
The tight end was Albert Ogunkanwonga.
What's the other guy's name? It sounds like Dortch. I always get him mixed up.
Dolchich.
There you go.
Greg Dolchich. He was a rookie. So 2 tight ends, maybe one of them, maybe they pick one. I think offensively, the pieces are there. Defensively, that team is stacked. You don't need Russell to let Russ cook. You tell Russell you are not the cook. You are a line cook at Applebee's.
Make it
this
the same
is what
way.
your job is. And I think with that, Denver can be successful. It won't, Eric, you're absolutely right. 2.5 years. This will not be a 1-year turnaround. They're 5-11 last year. They'll be 7-10 this year. 8-9.
I think they might be a little better. I think the Denver problems are 50% football, 50% everywhere else in the building. And if you watch Shannon Sharp, if you keep up with Shannon Sharp and his shows and things that he says, he's been expounding more and more like behind the scenes of the Broncos after they got rid of Hackett. Like he came out today and was like, once Sean Payton gets there, somebody's wife won't have a big office in the building. Like who the hell in the NFL wife has an office in the building?
Yeah.
Somebody won't have a section to themselves. Somebody won't have reserved parking spaces.
Wait, who is this somebody? I didn't know this was a thing.
It's all anonymous.
All anonymous, but he's talking about Russell Wilson.
He's talking about Russ,
Russell brought Hollywood. He basically brought a Hollywood type vibe because of his wife into Denver. And that didn't vibe with that Broncos country. That let's ride didn't vibe when you weren't winning.
So I think humbled then.
Sean Payton is accomplished enough. He's a guy. He's made man. he can walk in and say, "Hey, Russ, appreciate what you've done. You've been here in the league, 13 years. I've seen everything you've done. This is what we're going to do.
2012, yeah.
And this is what I think about it, and this is what we're going to do." And Russell can't say shit.
Nope.
Nathaniel Hackett could walk in the room and be like, "This is my plan. I think we should do X, Y, Z." Be like, "Nah, I ain't doing that. I want to do that. I want to throw 40-yard out."
Sean Payton has clout. Sean Payton has clout. So I think Denver made the right call here. I think losing the first round pick definitely hurts. Lauren, you're spot on. Losing that pick definitely hurts. But if any team, Sean Payton was still under contract, I think for 2 more years. So in order to get him to another team, that team has to give up something. New Orleans did not have a first round pick. They gave up their first round pick to Philadelphia this year in the Chris Olave draft day deal last year. So New Orleans, so the Eagles draft him. So now New Orleans gets back into the first round, which is really all that they want. They got a first round pick.
Denver still has their first round pick, though, doesn't it? The pick that Denver traded is the pick that came from like us to San Francisco, some kind of other way.
Miami to San Francisco.
Miami to San Francisco back now ended up with Denver. That's why I say that Sean Payton is the icing on the cake. This is really a Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton trade. When it's all said and done at the bottom.
I was trying to find today, like anything I could find on what the hell the Saints are going to do next year for a quarterback, and because I think Jameis is gone.
Where's he going?
But I'm like, what the hell are you?
Joe's Crab Shack. He can steal some more crab legs.
They said he was going to be a high-end backup, is what I was reading.
Let him be a backup. Now he would be a quality backup.
Yeah, he was a quality backup.
That's the type of backup you need.
Yeah,
he backed up Drew. He was
$4 million backup done. Andy Dalton can't be your starter. I think New Orleans hopes and prays that somebody like an Anthony Richardson drops. I don't think he does. I think Anthony Richardson gets drafted by Baltimore, but that's a whole other story.
You think so? I don't think Lamar's leaving.
I don't think Lamar's leaving this year.
Not this year, but you got to get ready. You got to get ready.
Is clearly not. So Lamar's not leaving this year, and Anthony Richardson needs 2 to 3 years to develop. He's not ready yet. You let him develop for a couple years. Richardson is a boom or a bust. He's going to be a stud, or he's going to be Ty Detmer. It's nothing.
The guy I'm actually hoping that falls out that just gets like all the way late second, third, Hendon Hooker. That should be a guy you should be targeting
ACL.
With the ACL. So you already know he's going to sit the whole year. He's already working out.
If that ACL is good enough for him to participate in Tennessee's pro day, he won't do anything at the combine. If he's not going to do that pro day, if he's good for the pro day for Tennessee, he could be a day 2 pick. He could be a second, third.
That's a day 2 build pick. If you don't have a first round pick, you need a QB to put in the pipeline.
Yeah, but the Saints wouldn't want that because the Saints need somebody now.
Yes.
Well, they need a bridge. That's why I've kind of never figured why Derek Carr's name never been attached to the Saints. The Saints need a bridge.
I thought he was, because he worked with Dennis Allen at some point. Like Dennis Allen was his coach. I mean, I don't think that they could place him in as
I really thought Carr to New Orleans made way more sense than any other team until this Tampa Bay job came open this morning. Well, now that's a different thing. It depends on what they're going to do with offense. I don't know. They're going to bring Arians back, let Arians call plays now.
I tell you what, if Tampa Bay if New Orleans holds on to Michael Thomas, gets a rejuvenation year out of Alvin Kamara, and Chris Olave is the truth,
which
he looks like he is.
He is.
I think New Orleans might be more attractive to Carr than Tampa Bay, that has no running game. Fournette is washed, and Evans and Godwin are in their 6th and 8th year. They're not young pups. They're getting older. Now, the wide receiver can play until he's 40. I get that. He's not like a running back.
I think he would like.
But I think we both thought that Mike Evans won't be there anyway. I think we're just jumping way off. We don't think Mike Evans will be there.
I see him going. I see Mike Evans still going to Houston. And speaking of Houston,
good segue.
Thank you. They got their boy. Let me rephrase that. They got their man. DeMeco Ryans played in Houston for 6 years. No,
Defensive
4
Rookie of the
years.
Year.
Then went to Philly for 2 years. And I'll be honest, I didn't even know he was a defensive coordinator until last year.
He was turning down jobs last year.
He is good.
Yeah.
Jeff and I had a conversation about this a couple weeks ago. We talked on the phone for probably about an hour just about this. I think this is the perfect situation for DeMeco Ryans if Houston tears the whole fucking thing down right
Gotta tear
now.
it down to the stud.
You get rid of Brandon Hooks. You got Dameon Pierce. You lean on that running back. You draft Bryce Young. You draft JSN or the kid out of USC, Jordan Addison. You get yourself a stud one.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on to Nico Collins. Hang on to Chris Moore. They're
Yeah.
serviceable for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And if you tear this thing down to the studs, like down to nothing, which is I think what they're going to do because they gave Ryans a 6-year contract. And usually a coach's contract is 4 or 5 years. They gave him 6, which tells me that they're going to tear this thing down and we can expect Houston to go 1-16, 3-14 for the next 2 years before they start getting good. I think
Houston defense was sneaky good this year. They were sneaky good. They were in a lot of games. There's some big Super Bowl teams and a lot of playoff teams struggled with the Texans this year.
It took Dallas down to the wire, like the last 2 minutes.
So I think it's a good situation. And they have 5 right now. They have 5 of the first 73 picks in the draft. They are sitting at what, 3?
They're at 2.
They're 2. They are sitting in the spot.
You see,
now,
here's what you
say you're going to give this man 6 years and you're really going to tear it down, and I'm of the opinion that 2 is for sale. I need a RG3 deal for 2. If I already know we're going to be 1-16, 2-15, I'm in the Drake May sweepstakes for next year. I'm worried about sale. 2 is definitely for sale.
The number 2 pick is for sale if and only if Chicago picks at their own pick at 1. Let's just say hypothetically, Chicago takes their pick at 1. They pick probably Jalen Carter, who is the number 1 rated prospect overall. They need defensive help. I think that's a great pick. If if Houston is sitting there at 2, Bryce Young is obviously, in my opinion, the best quarterback coming out of this draft. Will Levis and CJ Stroud are a tier below, but they're good quarterbacks. They're not
good with that.
As good, but if Houston has Will Levis and CJ Stroud rated even close to Bryce Young, Indy wants to come up. If Indy comes up because Indy needs a quarterback, they need to start with somebody young. If Indy jumps up from 4 to 2, if Bryce Young is available, Houston can take their first round pick for the next 2 years plus a second and a third. And now you have even more draft capital. You move down two slots only. I can't think of who's drafting third right now, but I don't think that they're quarterback needy. You have your pick of CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, whoever you want to roll with.
Is it the Cardinals?
It is the Cardinals.
Okay.
I think it is the Cardinals.
Right now it's Chicago, Houston. Then I just jumped off of it.
I was like,
I think it's
Chicago, Houston, Cardinals.
Then Cardinals are not drafting
back in there.
Cardinals are not drafting a quarterback. They're going defense. If they trade,
Seahawks could be quarterback needy, depending on what they decide to do with Geno.
Right, but if so, somebody could trade into that 3 spot if you need a quarterback, which then makes it a little bit perilous for Houston. I'm fine with them taking Stroud or taking Bryce Young, and I'm fine with them moving down 2 spots and taking CJ Stroud or Will Levis, with the understanding that whoever they draft is not expected to win. They're not expected to be a winner until year 3, which that's the understanding. You're tearing this thing down. That's the point of it.
My thing, I'm just looking at it. Houston's sweet spot should be trying to go down with the Raiders. Raiders are at 7. If the Houston could do something with the Raiders and stick around 7, you're still going to need a bridge guy. That still gives you Levis. Still gives you Anthony Richardson. Still
Richard,
give you
maybe
Mike.
not Levis.
What is a bridge guy?
I would probably
I
go.
don't
A bridge
even-
guy. So a bridge guy is
what
you
Indianapolis
draft
been
you
doing.
draft a rookie quarterback who you don't think is ready to
Oh,
start
okay.
right away. So you bring in a veteran who is going to be the starter for a year or two
Like the
until
Kenny Pickett situation.
Basically, yes. Basically, yes.
What they thought. What they thought was
What
going
they
to be.
thought was, I mean, Trubisky was intended to be a bridge. Trubisky was garbage. So
Yeah.
Pickett started a lot sooner than they wanted him to. But
Just a
yes,
side note about the Trubisky. Did you see Patrick Mahomes' dad or hear him on radio talking about Trubisky? That Chicago called them and promised them that they were taking him at 2, and that Patrick was devastated and was not even watching the draft when he got drafted because he had his heart set on going to Chicago.
What?
Really?
That's what according to Patrick Mahomes' father. First time I had ever heard that story. According to Patrick Mahomes' father, he was absolutely devastated. They were picking out
Was he devastated or was his, at the time, girlfriend?
I mean, I don't know. I guess he had gotten so. I guess he had talked to Chicago so much that he just, in his heart, I'm going to be a Bear. I'm going to be Walter Payton. You know, great middle linebackers of all time. I'm going to be the guy. And being the guy in a spot like Chicago is like being the guy in a spot like Dallas or something like that. I mean, there is some. They haven't had a guy in so long, but Chicago is a name where like you could be a legend. You'll be a legend.
They haven't had a guy since McMahon.
And he's still getting love. So they just need a guy. And Patrick would have been that. I don't know what they would have did with offense, but they would have had Nagy, right? So he would still had some basic Kansas City type training.
Was Nagy the coach?
Nagy still the coach when Trubisky was there?
2008, 18, 17. 2017 was
I think Nagy was there. I think Nagy was with Trubisky.
Sure?
Okay.
So it would have been, you would have got the Kansas City system with Patrick in a different
city. It wasn't
city.
Lovie Smith?
Let's see.
I actually had a Lovie Smith question for you, and I was waiting for the moment to drop it. Is he going to be coaching next year?
Ooh, why? Why should he?
That's what I'm asking. Like, I feel like that poor man just goes like, who has he not coached for?
Lovie Smith is the definition. We were just talking about bridge quarterbacks. Lovie Smith is the definition of a bridge coach. He's an interim coach. He's the person that you bring in when you fire your coach midseason and you need somebody to just hold it together for 7 games because you know how to run a team until we get.
But if you wanted him to be a coordinator, you could use him. You could use him as a coordinator if you want to, but he's a much better calming figurehead for a losing team.
Listen, he looks like the Black Santa Claus with that
Black
beard.
Santa
I love that beard. He's the Black Santa.
I just feel bad for him. Like the coaches crack me up in general because it's always like one coach it's always the same guys.
I just remember 18 is Nagy. He replaced Fox.
John Fox was their coach.
Was that when John Fox went to Denver?
He replaced John Fox. John Fox was terrible that last year.
So we have 2 more. So we have 2 more. So talking about terrible John Fox, there's 2 more teams that still do not have head coaches. Do we have any predictions?
What are the
teams? They fill those vacancies. We have Indianapolis and we have Arizona, the number 3 and number 4 picks in this coming draft.
I'll give you my prediction. If this is the caveat, if Philly wins the Super Bowl, their OC gets a job and their DC gets the other job that's left. In whatever order they may be, they get their cupboard rated. They get rated if they win the Super Bowl.
Have a prediction? Shane Steichen, who's offense, and
I say Steichen with Murray. Steichen with Murray. If you have any sense, if the Bidwells have any sense, you need to keep an offensive guy with Kyler. You need somebody to do something a little different. A little different than what Kingsbury was doing, but it's still got to be offensive minded.
I would say that Shane Steichen if Shane Steichen gets one of those 2 jobs, I would say probably leaning more towards Indy because Indy is going to draft a quarterback and Shane Steichen is kind of like one of those quarterback whisperers that you already have Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury tried to make Kyler Murray something that he's not. He was not. Kyler Murray is not going to play the first half of the season probably, so Arizona will lose again. I don't think Shane Steichen gets a head coaching job yet.
Okay.
I think Jonathan Gannon has a better opportunity, and I'm going to throw a name out there that. So Arizona and Indianapolis have not hired a quarterback yet, and there's got to be a reason why. And for me, the reason why is because the man that they want is still currently coaching, which is Shane Steichen or Jonathan Gannon. But I'm going to throw that other name out there. The name that gets tossed around every year and
Oh
still
God,
hasn't gotten a job.
he's never getting a job.
Jeff knows where I'm going. I think he gets a job this year. I think Jonathan Gannon or Shane Steichen. I think one of them goes to Indianapolis, and I think Eric Bieniemy winds up going to Arizona. I think Eric
Never.
Bieniemy and Kyler Murray could be something special. I think
Ah.
Kyler Murray has, I'm not comparing the two. They're not the same player, but I think Kyler Murray has some of those same abilities that Patrick Mahomes has. They are athletic quarterbacks. Not saying Kyler Murray is anywhere near Patrick Mahomes right now, but
Never.
I think Bieniemy with Kyler Murray could be something. I think Indianapolis will go the more traditional conservative route with either Steichen or Gannon.
Indianapolis, that's another team that needs to just tear it down.
They're ready. They're really ready. They've been a really quarterback away for 3 years.
Indy has now their offensive line this year sucked. They have a good line. Their defense is actually above average. They actually have a decent. They just didn't perform.
All right, no, I take that.
Jonathan Taylor's coming back. You have Michael
Taylor.
Pittman, who I still think is a great wide receiver. You have Alec Pierce, who we don't know
because he never played with anybody.
He's not
the whole year. He didn't play with anybody all year.
You need a quarterback. I think Indy is closer than Arizona.
They need a hell of a. They don't just need a quarter. Like they need.
I think they just need a steadying hand. I mean, because this is the same. You watch the Colts. We're not even going to get into the Jeff Saturday thing. I'm not even going to get into the Jeff Saturday thing. But this is the same Colts team that knocked off Patrick. They knocked off Mahomes. So they have some pieces when healthy. They do have some pieces. They are a big time quarterback away from being. I mean, in that division, being right back in.
Needs to be.
I don't even think they're a big time. I think they're a quarterback manager. They just need a game manager right now. Somebody
I think Carr would be another guy. Carr is another guy that would fit there too.
If Carr goes there, then they're gonna have a repeat of this year.
Carr fits there. No, Carr is not Wentz.
Somebody better than Carr.
Carr is not Wentz. But there is nobody better than Carr that's out there right now that's available. That's not under contract. There is nobody free agent at the house that's better than him.
I'm telling you, that man is emotional, and there's no better place for an emotional man to go than the city of New Orleans. Like, period. Like the way that
I would love
to know how that vibes together there, but
Carr, he'll go down there and
I think I like Carr.
Embrace him. Like he will get the hug that he wants from everybody. Like I can see him there because he's so emotional.
I'm saving somebody special for your boys, Lauren. I'm saving Jimmy G to go to New Orleans.
I think Jimmy G is also. You know what? I agree with Lauren. I think Carr would be best suited in New Orleans.
Yeah,
I don't think Indianapolis will sign. First of all, they're going to draft a quarterback.
Indy's better. Jimmy G would be better in Indy. That's their
Jimmy
more like
G would be better in Indy. Yes, because Indy cannot have another.
I love him.
Rundown quarterback. They've done Phillip Rivers. They've done Carson Wentz. If
you got to draft, you got to bring in somebody, and then you got to bring in Jimmy.
You got to bring in somebody. I think Jimmy's
personality-wise, he fits better.
Eric says they want Bieniemy at the Commanders.
And upset he is, and like kind of dramatic. He's
is Ron Rivera on the hot seat?
Ron Rivera's not on the hot seat. No. I think Carr to the Commanders.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was actually literally. Yeah, I did read that also.
Why pay Carr though when you got this? You got great value, Sam Howell, right there. At least see what the kids got before you bring in Carr.
No, I would rather have Heineke as my backup, and that's a value backup. I think that's a value backup. Heineke, yeah.
Carson, I did read Carson. Carson's going to be back in some. Carson's going to be
working at Top Golf. Carson Wentz will be working at Top Golf.
I actually have to go to a Top Golf in 2 weeks. I've never been.
Be working
Top Golf is awesome. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that's one right in the street.
That's an addiction. So listen, I have just looking forward to the Super Bowl. I read something last weekend that I thought, well, after both the Eagles and the Chiefs won. Here's a mind-blowing stat. So the Super Bowl this year is being played in Glendale, home of the Arizona Cardinals. And the game is being played, of course, between the Eagles and the Chiefs. So the winner of the Super Bowl will have won more games in the Cardinals Stadium this year than the Cardinals. The Cardinals won one game at home this year.
That
the Eagles, the Eagles beat the Cardinals in Arizona. The Chiefs beat the Cardinals in Arizona. So one of those two teams is going to have 2 wins and more wins than the Cardinals in their home stadium.
Oh, all right. So now that we're on this topic, because I might not be able to get on the show next week, who are you taking?
This is a tough one for me.
Yeah, really.
Fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
You know I roll with my homeboy.
You go to roll with homeboy? Am I going to break the tie tonight?
You're going to have to break the tie.
You're going to break the tie. You're going to break somebody's heart.
Gloves I was listening to a podcast today, and Adam Azer was talking about the Eagles. This is possibly one of the best top 10 teams in all time. They were saying it's easily the number 1 Eagles team of all time, but I am going to take the Eagles for the win.
I disagree.
I don't agree that it's the best Eagles team of all time.
You don't think?
I think it's a great team. I think it's a great team, no doubt. I loved that 2004 team, with T.O. and Donovan and that defense with Javon Curse and
that team was nasty.
Didn't you guys, was that the Super Bowl?
Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown.
Yeah.
That was
that the Patriots lost Super Bowl?
That's the Patriots. No, that was the third.
They
won
Patriots
3 and then they were off for 10 years and then they won 3. This was the last of their first 3. It was the last Super Bowl that somebody won back-to-back Super Bowls. 2003, 2004
but
Patriots.
The Patriots won that one.
Yeah. But that team, though.
That was when Mike
That
Vrabel,
team was better than this team is now.
That was a team that Donovan McNabb threw up in the huddle in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no,
I'm not going to disrespect Donovan McNabb and say
I loved Mike Vrabel. I have Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel played in
that game is when I completely fell in love with him when he did the Fly Eagles Fly dance on his own in the end zone.
Yeah, he scored a touchdown, right?
Yeah, so he did.
Yeah. He scored a touchdown in that game. Yeah, I think Philly wins this game for a couple of reasons. One, Jalen is hurt and Patrick is hurt, but Jalen can still run, and Patrick really can't. And listen, they have 2 weeks off. Jalen's arm is going to heal a little. Patrick's ankle is going to heal
that high ankle sprain is no joke.
It's no joke. The Eagles, people say, I watched Stephen A. Smith go off earlier this week saying the Eagles have not faced a quarterback anything like Patrick Mahomes. True story. Absolute true story. Patrick Mahomes has not faced a defense like the Eagles.
Right.
Like they played San Francisco earlier in the season. San Francisco was good and getting better. The Eagles are peaking right now. The Eagles have the much better defense.
They got a much better wide receivers.
They much better wide receivers. They don't. But this is what every person in Texas has been waiting for. Dallas is finally going to the Super Bowl. Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
So Dallas finally made it. Listen, I think Philly has the better offense. I think Philly has the better defense. I think if it's one of those 16-13 games, Kansas City has a chance. But I think listen, Kansas City could barely score 23 against Cincinnati, and Philly's defense is better. And I don't think Kansas City's offense can keep up with Philly's. Honestly, I don't think it's close. I think
I'm still sticking Kansas City, but I won't hold the 23 points for Kansas City playing this game because Patrick was thrown to a guy that was on the practice squad the morning before by the end of that game. So
35-20.
Yeah.
35-20.
Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby.
27-20. 27-20 Chiefs.
What say you, Lauren? What's your prediction?
I'm not.
Just go
I like the 35-20. I think it's going to be the Eagles by at least. I'll do it this way. I think it's the Eagles by at least a touchdown. Touched about by 10 points.
Okay. I got them by 2 scores.
I don't see the Chiefs.
Kansas City by 7.
And Miles Sanders looked so good last week. I don't know.
Yeah, this is Miles Sanders' last season with the Eagles. A, he's a free agent. B, Kenny Gainwell just looks good.
He does look good.
Just looks good.
I just don't see
All
it.
Right, we got 30 seconds to
Jeff,
go.
We did not sing We did not sing to our girlfriends.
We did not. We did not do that. We did not do a
I
lot
was
of
going to
topics
sing
this
for
morning.
Merrill. I actually had the guitar tuned up and ready to go, but he didn't come on last week.
Oh,
well,
is that what it is?
We don't have a guitar and we can't sing, but Lauren, we love you. Mwah, happy 29th.
Oh, thank you. Now you made my day.
I thought she was like 24, but I didn't know.
She
know.
cannot pass for 24. 29.
No. Do you see that 22-year-old playing basketball in that JV game? So, I mean, anything can happen.
I don't know if I missed
know what you're talking
22 or
about.
not. Would you go
What are
back
you
into
talking
22?
about?
I don't think I would go back to 22.
No, I don't want to do that.
I would
All
not
right.
go back. I'd go back
So-
to like 27.
We're over our time for today. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna talk a lot of shit before the Super Bowl. We still got some other coaching news and some other coaching topics that we did not get to this week that we will get back onto next week. That I have some strong opinions back on.
Oh, we didn't do a Tepper. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we didn't talk about David Tepper, but we'll save some shit for him from next week. I'm sure he'll do something dumb as hell.
You can take a pull list
during
when
the
Brady
break.
retires next
And-
week.
Yeah, that part too. And then maybe we'll get an Aaron Rodgers retirement. That would be awesome. But
Or trade.
hopefully Clint will be back with us next week. Maybe we'll get the commissioner to jump in before the Super Bowl. But for
Thoughts
Ian
and
the
prayers,
Champ,
Brandy.
Lauren, Big Jeff, we are out of here. We appreciate you for watching.